special guest, and look, there's Ralph, late as ever, um, with another special guest. And I actually prepared a small list of things because I needed to look up like what did this guy actually do? Because to me, like personally, I still have this fresh memory of you playing here in Tilburg in 013 together with Real Canario at Treats. I'm not sure if you remember that party.
Oh, you're talking about me.
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not sure who you're talking about.
Yeah, I was talking about you. You're the
Yeah, yeah,
guest.
yeah, 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 yeah,
The
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
guest,
shit.
everyone.
and I still,
Oh,
Chucky,
thank you.
I,
legend.
I
Thank you.
still
First of all, thank you for having me.
happy to
Yeah.
have you, man. Happy to have you. I still remember going to that party. It was one of my big parties, and you were playing there to back with Real Canario, and that was the first time you premiered Toys Are Nuts, and
Oh,
I went crazy. I
Yeah.
was like, "What is this? Like, what is this sound? Like this? It was such an it made such an impact to me, and that just
Yeah.
still
Yeah.
remember it. It's
not
crazy.
only you. I can. It was one of the biggest, the sneakers nopes dope era.
Yeah, yeah,
One of the
Yeah.
everybody played that track.
yeah. That was so
Yeah.
sick. But
It was a crazy, crazy time. I remember because it was 2006.
mhm.
And I just got introduced to Gregor Salto. I think I'm
Oh
hearing
yeah.
myself echoing. Is that correct? Echo cancellation. Is there a button
Maybe
for it?
there is an echo cancellation. Yeah.
Ec- yeah, if I can do it. Hold on. Why is it
Oh,
not
can't be
echo
changed during
cancellated?
recording.
Anyway.
No. Yeah.
Oh, all good, all good. So we're talking about 2006, and I just got introduced to Gregor Salto, and Gregor Salto is an open-minded person, and his music is outstanding. And I was like, I feel like we could do something in the studio. Back then, I kind of decided for myself that I wanted to go more towards electronic music, and
Yeah, because you were
I
playing
know about I
eclectic
know
back
about
then.
make yeah, more like open format. So I would go from house to rock to hip hop to dancehall to salsa merengue to drum and bass, whatever, to hip hop, just to get it into like a cool eclectic mix that would make sense for me. But it was around that time that I kind of decided that I wanted to do more electronic music, and so I called Gregor. I'm like, "Yo, let's do the studio session." And I remember going to his studio in Harlem, and he's like, "Yo, what are we doing?" And I think we were trying to make like a pop record. I think it was for Eva Simmons or one of those female singers from back then, and we were trying to make a pop record. And
You didn't
obviously,
succeed.
we didn't succeed, and but we kind of had the melody. So the melody, from Toys R Us, it was actually a longer melody,
Ah, cool.
and we both didn't feel it. And then my little knowledge of what I had from producing different genres of music, I remember like, hey, techno always had this kind of hypnotic vibe if you would just take like a short loop and keep repeating it,
Hmm.
and so we kind of short loop and we had the toot toot toot, and we're like, oh, we're vibing on this. And Gregor's like, yo, so what are we doing now? I'm like, okay, you know what? Let's just do whatever feels right. And I remember we were playing back in the days, we were playing with CDs. So I showed up
Those
with a
little
big
discs.
folder
Yeah.
with CDs, with my CD case. Yeah, yeah. And we started sampling stuff, I'm like, yo, take this snare, take this drum, take this vocal. We just started implementing it. And back then, Gregor, for him, it was also a new thing because he was more like, traditional, more that international sound of producing. And I was like, no, bro, this gotta go crazy. I want claps on the one, He's like, claps on the one. I'm like, yeah, fuck it, let's do it, man. Because I was already kind of accustomed to playing in festivals, and I needed that crowd response. So I'm like, yeah, I want to do claps on the one. So we did all kinds of unconventional things in that record, which eventually kind of worked. So when I went home with the first version, I chopped some hip hop samples and I just implemented it in the record, sent it back to him, and he did a full mix and master. And it came out quite unique, I must say.
I
It,
think
that
it's still
Yeah.
it holds up today as
it
well.
still hits. It
Such a
still
good
hits.
record.
Yeah,
So
like
everybody that's listening, if
Yeah.
if like you're a bit younger, because I think some of our
A
listeners
bit.
are like 20 and they haven't listened to it
Yeah.
when they were younger. So if you listen to it now, it will still sound so good.
Yeah.
It's like such a timeless track, I
No,
think.
definitely.
Did you say 2006?
Yeah, this is records from 2006.
Yeah. So if you
We
were
Wow.
even have it on
born,
vinyl.
if you were born in 2006, you're 18 now, right?
Wow.
Wow. Yeah. It
That's
was
so sick.
crazy because there's a part of the record. So in the original version, there's a break which I sampled from an old drum and bass record, and I was in London, and I happened to, but it was like the sample is like it's recorded from, it's sampled from a live session, from a live concert or whatever, and I happened to find the original vocalist from that sample. So we like, yo, can you say this and say this? So we totally customized it to our needs, which worked out
Oh, that's
really
Mm.
pretty
fine.
cool.
But
Now that
even
I'm
when the record came out, yeah, when the record came out, I was scared because I mean I was cool with it because I knew it was working in my sets, but I didn't know what it was gonna do in the electronic music world. You know what I'm saying?
it worked.
So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
But
yeah, you
if
could say that.
now that I'm thinking about it, the vocal that is in it is still being used a lot as well, right? It's the let me see those hands, let me see those hands.
Yeah,
Come
yeah,
on.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
I still have that in
It's one
my
of those. It's one of
record
those
box
tools.
actually. I still have that one in
Yeah,
my record box.
yeah, because
Just the
we also
vocal.
released that. Yeah, we released that vocal as well because I knew back then that you could use it for all kinds of things. If you don't like the original, at least you could use the vocal or something.
yeah,
So
Mm.
we definitely knew what we were doing, and up to this day, they use it a lot. Yeah.
Well, I think that's what's also for me, like the memory of Chucky, but also you mentioned Real El Canario or even DJ Ewan. For me, were the first three that kind of revolutionized being a DJ in dance music.
Yeah.
Nobody at that time would think of making a vocal loop and sending it out to everybody to use in every build.
yeah,
But I think what made you were like the real DJs of the scene back then.
yep, definitely.
And I think that made so
Yeah.
much difference, and it kind of revolutionized everything in dance music because dance music, also when we started, everybody played like a techno DJ, a lot of long transitions and what's so not. And then all of a sudden, these guys came up and man, they were mixing using that thing that
The
goes
crossfader.
sideways and
The
doing
Yeah, I
stuff
think you're
we've
one of
never
crossfader.
the
seen. I don't even know the fader and
The
The
crossfader.
crossfader, the
I
the
one
think
other
that
you're
goes
one
from
of
one.
the
left to
I'm
right.
first
not a DJ, guys. Hey, I'm a producer.
I think
So
you're one
no,
of the
but it was
first DJ
revolutionary.
one of the first DJ rock stars or superstars where it really was like, whoa, what's this guy doing on stage? And he's mixing all this stuff in, and he's like, you were like doing vocals before drop, and the rest, like Ralph said, was more a bit like, yeah, just mixing, and then oh, here's a drop. But then you were just, it was
Conventional
like,
mixing.
yeah, man, and that I think that was so. But it put you also more on the spot, like, whoa, who's this guy? Who's this DJ? I
Yeah,
remember that
maybe
going out as
Um,
well.
I have like a follow-up question to
yeah,
that
because the
because
thing is,
there's a delay, by the
yeah,
way.
Yeah,
But
there's a delay.
yeah, it's a small like follow-up question because I'm just wondering how that is for you because back then I still remember you're using like four CDJs like mixing it all together like to me it was an art form, right?
yeah.
It's really an way of art. If you look at the DJ scene right now and how DJs play overall with like the auto cue and stuff, like what's your thoughts on that?
Well, for me, first of all, the way Jay said it, using records in a different way, it's totally true. But it also comes from my background, because you got to remember back in the days, we used to buy vinyl, right? And a lot of times, if this vinyl was sold out, it's sold out, and you can't play it that weekend because you simply don't have the record. So, and also, I didn't have a lot of money. So, what I would do, I would basically go to my friends, borrow the record, and then sample every bit of the record, because back in the days you
Mm.
couldn't sample like the whole record, right? So you would have to sample it in bits and pieces. So I would sample the intro, let's say the drums, and I would sample the hook and the breakdowns, the bridge and everything. And at a certain point I'm like, okay, but why would I, if I sampled the whole record, why would I assemble it exactly the same as it was? Why not just switch it around as the way I like it. And that's where I kind of started to get into producing. So I started with editing the records first, but it was more, a matter of, it's I wanted to be different, but I also didn't want to, disrespect the record. I wanted to get more out of the record as it was. So I started editing in that way, and from that, automatically you get into producing music. But so having the records already in a different format already allows you to play a different
Hmm.
set. Your delivery will be different because your intros will be shorter or longer, or you will loop the break extra long, or you will add like an extra build up. So I was doing a lot of those things already, but those were like purely for my sets because I wanted to get more out of my sets, and I was able to do it with all these edits. So I was doing that, and little did I know it kind of became a style. And
Yeah.
of course, you started with, let's say, two sources, and then I came to the conclusion that I needed more sources. So soon I was like already on 4 CDJs because then I could mix it up faster and quicker. But I wasn't really aware that it would become like a new standard.
Mm.
What I did know is that it was already different from everybody else. So obviously you're gonna stand out better or worse.
Yeah. Yeah. Was
But
it so? That was like a conscious
it's obvious
decision
you're
to
gonna
do
stand
some.
out if you sound different. So that in my case,
Yeah, there's a big delay. I'm not sure if your Wi-Fi is okay, but it looks like the connection is not that great. We'll see. Can
my
you still
Wi-Fi.
hear us?
Hold on. If I switch my Wi-Fi now, am I going offline?
Yeah, but you can come
I
back
think so.
in. So yeah, you can come back
Okay,
in.
hold on. Give me one
That's all right.
second. Let me try this.
Yeah, let's see if that works.
It's not a big delay as in I had in Vietnam.
Still here?
No, it was like a minute.
Yeah, you're still
Yeah,
here.
yeah. A- Am I here?
Yeah, you're
Yep.
still here.
Yo, is it good? Is
Yeah,
it better now?
Yeah, it seems
let's
to
see if
be
this
nice.
works.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yay, yay!
Let's
seems to
go.
be
But
better.
Yeah, we just
one question in between. Where are you based right now, Clive?
I'm based in Wateringen. That's
Oh,
Den
it's in
Haag.
Holland. Okay.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, I moved to Aruba in 2012 because there was the whole explosion in America, and I'm like, I was flying so much towards America. I'm like, I can't be living that far from America,
Yeah.
and I had like really good friends in Aruba, and I'm like, it's only a 2-hour flight from Aruba, and they
Ugh,
had the pre-clearance in Aruba, so it was easy to fly to the States.
yeah.
So I
Ah,
did that for like a good 6 years,
okay.
and but I kind of also felt that my productivity went backwards instead of forwards.
Okay.
One
Living there.
Yeah, but not necessarily living there, but one, traveling a lot, traveling too much actually,
Hmm.
and two, yeah, it's the beach, the sun. you know you're not gonna
It's
get much done.
It's a
it's a nice
distraction.
island. I've been there a couple of times.
Yeah,
I
me too.
wouldn't
I
work
love it.
so hard either.
No.
Yeah, exactly. And but what really killed my creativity, and I must say this, and it's important to say, is that I I never expected the success I was having, so I wasn't even prepared for it. And I
Oh,
was
really?
living really, I was living the moment, and it before I knew it, I passed 5 years because I kind of had my international breakthrough in 2009, and before I knew it, it was 2014. And I was traveling and doing all kinds of stuff. But when I look back at my catalog, I'm like, okay, I did a lot, but I didn't do as much as I wanted to have done.
Mm.
Yeah, but
S-
you would
I
say
think it
that like
makes it makes
in
sense
the
because it's
Netherlands.
like that makes sense because like we said before, you and like your, let's say, generation, you, Afrojack, David Guetta, and the guys that you guys brought DJing to that level of superstars. And before it was like, yeah, you have DJs. So I think you could hardly not be prepared for that it was
Hmm.
gonna blow up that much, I think.
Yeah. And to be honest, the most creative stuff and most groundbreaking stuff I did before I even went traveling. The most groundbreaking stuff I did because I was just in the studio, being around creatives in a whatever, whether it's a studio or a room, making stuff and trying things, freaking on the buttons and stuff like that. That's where I did the real groundbreaking stuff. The rest is just, to me, afterwards, it feels like I think I was an autopilot. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah,
Mm,
yeah.
mm.
And I'm not even afraid to say it because afterwards I'm like I'm really harsh on myself with those things. I'm like I think I was an autopilot, and of course people expected a certain sound, and I delivered, but I wasn't groundbreaking anymore. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah. And because I made a list of things that I still remember and that I found, which really was like, oh,
Yeah,
did you? I still remember like the Dirty Dutch parties,
yeah,
Let the Bass Kick with LMFAO,
yeah.
collaboration with Hardwell, Layback Luke, Martin Solveig, Michael Jackson remix, Deadmau5 remix, David Guetta remixes,
Rihanna remix, Gloria Estefan remix,
dude.
Enrique Iglesias remix, Puff Daddy. Oh, sorry, no Diddy. Yeah,
You'll get us canceled. No, no, no.
yeah, yeah.
But what it's like, if you look at that list, did most of the majority of those tracks happened, let's say, after your breakthrough or before?
Yet, so basically, Let the Bass Kick was the breakthrough record, but we're talking about 2007, 2008 here.
Mm-hmm.
Because I only made Let the Bass Kick because Sensation, they called me like, hey, we're doing a soundtrack. Um, and, we're selling obviously like 40, 50,000 CDs throughout Europe. We want to have a track from you, on the CD. And I'm like, yeah, you can use Toys or Nuts. Because they're like, nah, it's already old. I'm like, fuck. So what am I gonna do? And I'm like, okay, I have this one opportunity to get heard on a European level. What am
Mm-hmm.
I gonna do? Am I gonna try to make something that fits in the whole Sensation sound? Or am I gonna just use this opportunity to show like, hey, this is what's happening in the Dutch or on the Dutch dance floors? So
Yeah,
I
because Electric Bass Kick was also pretty
yeah,
revolutioning, whatever.
nary.
Like, yeah, revolutionary when it comes down to sound. Like that little glitching melody was, yeah, it's
Yeah,
amazing. Yeah.
yeah. But we all know we all got inspired by the Roman Flugel record.
Oh yeah, Gates
Yeah,
Note.
that's true.
Boop, 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 boop,
Yeah,
boop, boop, boop,
I
boop.
got that on vinyl actually. Gates
Same
Note.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was, and even that record, like although to us we played it in a different context, like more in like an electro set or whatever. So when I started Let the Bass Kick, and I must credit Silvio Icomo for it, who is a really good like old school techno producer, but he's like from the hood,
Mm-hmm.
and he was more like he kind of made me appreciate and enjoy and understand techno more because it was his world, and the two of us together kind of made like a good combination. So when we did the original Let the Bass Kick, the approach was more like a techno record. The original record is like almost 8 minutes. The intro is like almost 2 minutes before it even drops, and it was because we needed the space in the production to let everything breathe and build nice and slow. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Before we even got to the drop.
Mm.
And
So
then
yeah,
no, because I remember that track had many versions, right? You had the LMFAO version. We last week we talked about the what was that the other one? The Welcome to Miami.
yeah, that's another record. We'll get to
That's
that.
another
So
record.
so what
Yeah.
happened? No, so what happened is that so I did the track for the Sensation compilation,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm talking about 2008 now, and the track kind of did nothing. The original as it is, it worked in Holland. Back then, I also released this track called Moomba,
Yeah.
and it was a
Nice.
big,
Mumbai, yeah.
massive hit
Huge
in
record as well.
yeah on the Dutch dance floors. It was a big record, but not international. And so here comes March 2009, March 2009, Winter Music Conference, and before the Winter Music Conference, this guy from Chicago, DJ Infinity, he sends out this bootleg of my record with the vocals from LMFAO.
Oh.
Send it to the whole industry. So I got the record. I'm like, hey, that's cool, man. I might play it in Miami. I get to Miami and I'm like, yo, I got this whole list of people I want to see. I want to see David Guetta. I want to see Swedish House Mafia. I want to see yes, this. I had a whole list. First, I went to Swedish House Mafia. Big show, obviously. First record they started with was my track with that vocal, that mashup. I'm like, holy shit. I go to David Guetta show. He started with that same track as well. I'm like, what the hell? I went to numerous shows and they were all playing it. I'm like, yo, this is dope. So I get back from the Winter Music Conference and my phone just started to blow up. All these labels wanted to sign the record, and then I signed it to CR2 in the UK.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, by the time we were in December 2009, it was like a top six record in the UK charts,
Wow.
Wow.
together with 50 Cent, Jay-Z and Alicia Keys, that famous track. So
Mm-hmm.
obviously it's hard to get number one, but still number six.
It's
Dude,
crazy.
I
So
would
so
sign
that
for that.
record, yeah. So that record was first, and then obviously I was already kind of in the mix with Geta, and he's like, "Yo, I'm doing these records. I'm working on this album, One Love, and this
Mm.
sound really inspired me. So every record he produced for that album, he called me like, "Yo, what you think about this?" Smart man, he just wanted my approval, but never kind of involved me in the production. I'm like, "Yeah, it's cool, bro.
No credits.
No credits." But he's like, "Yo, I'm doing these remixes, so if you want to do a remix, you could do a remix." So I did the remix for "Sexy Bitch" from David Guetta and Akon, and the one with Estelle, and there was he just wanted that sound.
Yeah, yeah.
And even then I wanted to stand out, because I'm like, okay, if I'm doing a remix, I'm just gonna add that element I had in the Toys and Nuts record, with
Mm-hmm.
the put your hands up, that vibe of a live MC. So that's why I called Little John to do the remix, and
Ah,
that's
yeah.
why I called Fatman Scoop and added them to the remix, just to make it a little special.
Yeah.
A
Yeah.
little
But
special.
very
Like
special.
special.
But listening to all those stories, like there seems to be a big red line throughout your whole career, which is like being different than all the others, right? That seems to be very important to you.
Yeah, very important, because obviously, no matter when you start, whether it's 20 years ago, 30 years ago, or even now, it always feels like the market is saturated.
Hmm.
And the one thing you want to do is try to stand out. That's the first thing you learn, when you, even with every business, it goes for every business. You want to stand out, and you want to find that one thing that makes you stand out. So even when I started, because I used to live in Amsterdam,
Hmm.
but my parents were divorced, and my dad was living in The Hague, my mom in Amsterdam. Even back then I was like, okay, but the market in Amsterdam is saturated, and in The Hague you almost had no DJs. So I'm like, if I want to make any chance in this scene, it's better for me to start there. So I
Yeah.
started in The Hague, and yeah, I always had it in mind to be different, and to find that one thing that would make
Yeah,
me
and
stand out.
also what I hear, which sounds very important, is also the collaboration. So like you're
Mm.
like, I call this guy, I call that guy, I work with him and with them, and that's also very like important, and it shows that makes sometimes you can make something that you wouldn't
Yeah,
have made alone, which is
100%. And I
yeah.
was never scared to outsource, and I never had a big ego when it came down to making music, even up to today. If I want a certain chord progression, and it's too complex because I'm not musically trained, I can do the basic stuff. I'm calling somebody. I'm like, yo, if I know somebody that does a better job than me, I'll call him, just
Yeah.
for the sake of making that masterpiece. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying?
Yeah.
And if I want a more techno sound, I know exactly who to call. Like, yo, what should I do, or can you add something? And just to make it, just to complement it for
Oh,
for
but
the
it's
Yeah.
for the greater good.
I
Yeah,
think
yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
very hard to be a well, basically you're an A&R then, but it's very hard to be a good A&R to take all these puzzle pieces and put them all
Yep.
together and know which way you want to go. Because exactly that knowing which way you want to go, that vision, that's what so many artists lack. And if you have that,
Yeah,
that
Yeah.
makes a lot of difference.
Yeah, and it's
And
yeah,
where
even
you then get it from, fuck it.
it's creatively, but also even with like mixing or mastering. Like I've had
I
sometimes where
was
I'm
gonna
like,
say, yeah.
I can do I can't do better than this master, but I know it can be better. And then I outsource the mastering, for example, and it's like, hey, I know it's gonna be better. I don't have an ego as well when it comes to
Yeah.
that. It's like that guy can do better, so I'm gonna ask that guy,
Let him.
and
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
and funny enough, with the Let the Bass Kick, we had the original version, which was our own master, and I tried master it, and I don't know if you do remember this guy Arjan Rietvink.
Yeah.
No.
But this guy's he's really really solid in his work, but for me personally, he lives too much by the numbers, and the
Mm-hmm.
rules. And when I got the first master back, I'm like, it's not what I. It doesn't have that guts
Mm.
anymore. You
Yeah,
know,
maybe it's too slick or something,
too
like too
slick,
Yeah,
polished.
too
Yeah,
I'm
polished.
I'm one
yeah.
of the
Yeah,
guys that a lot of the times think that a part of the identity, the soul of the track, is also in that mastering, and it's not per se that it's if it's according to the book rules. I do have my own rule set, by the way. You gotta
yeah,
admit, but you should always try to make your own master and try to
Yep.
master that thing because. And I sometimes take Skrillex as an example. No way somebody else masters he is his sound. That's his identity, his DNA. And maybe okay, somebody can get a few decibels out of it more than he can, but that true sound, that's the DNA of the track. And I can totally imagine that when somebody who wasn't involved in making the whole thing,
yeah.
then you just kill the track. You need that rawness. That's what you need.
But you know what? For me, it was kind of hard to accept it for myself because I always had that feeling like somebody else can do it better. So
Hmm.
Okay.
I had for the longest, yeah, I was too scared in trusting myself and my sound. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So
Well,
I would always run
wait.
it by somebody else, and sometimes they would just downgrade the track.
Yeah, but you're selling yourself short. I
Yeah,
think, yeah, you started also when you were started talking that you always had a feeling that somebody else could do it better. But and I want to ask you, but I was also listening because quite interesting. But have you ever realized how big the DJ Chucky brand or name was?
no, never,
Yeah,
never,
yeah,
never.
I could tell when you were talking, but
To me, to me,
we
it really
started out in
represents.
2007. For us,
Yeah,
you were
Yeah,
kind of a big deal,
it
Yeah.
represents
and
a
yeah,
generation to me. Like our age of DJs and people. If I looked at my friends, like actually, a friend just texted me a message that he's actually watching the podcast
oh
because
shit,
he loves
what up,
it.
friend?
Hello,
So
Joey's friend.
yeah,
Yeah,
but just like to them, like Chucky, we when we went to festivals, you were
yeah,
there. Like it doesn't
yeah,
matter which festival, you were there, main
yeah.
stage,
yeah,
Because
always.
back then I was also I was trying to create something that would work for me and something that was, according to my vision.
Hmm.
And obviously, I would find the records that would work in my set and that would shape my set and the story I was gonna tell. And sometimes it would be a more obscure record, sometimes it could be a super commercial thing, or something that was I don't know, something that went viral or something. I would just find elements and try to make it work for myself. I wasn't necessarily working on, hey, I want to be revolutionary, obviously, because also you got to understand that 20 years ago, or 25 years ago, if you will, not a lot of things. Now I feel like everything is already invented. Back
Hmm.
then there was still like room to invent stuff. And I was doing things that were not done yet.
Yeah.
Eventually probably somebody would do it. I have the same thing
mhm.
when I think about bubbling and the whole bubbling sound, because even
Oh
that
yeah, yeah,
wave was before the EDM stuff.
Bubbling
um
is great, man. Like wow.
yeah, and
yeah.
and,
But
and the
if
same thing you
yeah.
just said, I get the same kind of feedback from the bubbling DJs that do it now, because obviously now all of a sudden it's a hip international sound. And when you start going down the rabbit hole, you obviously gonna come across Chucky and the Party
Yeah.
Crasher and the Moomba stuff and
Yeah.
all that stuff,
Exactly.
Oh man,
which is
brings
really
me
cool.
back.
But I never really realized it. The only thing is, what I did have was that, first time I sold out my own show in the Heineken Music Hall, now called the Alphas, for 5,000 people, and I'm standing there. I'm like, obviously there's something going on. People want to come see you.
Yeah.
And
True.
then you see the growth, and then first time I sold out the Rye, Amsterdam Rye, which is like 25, 30,000 people, and I'm
Dude,
standing there. That's
And from the outside,
Insane.
that seems so what's the English word? Vanzelfsprekend.
obvious.
It seems so
Obvious. Yeah.
obvious and logic that, but
Yeah.
then for you that it feels that you're only then realizing like, holy shit, that's
The
really
crazy, but the craziest part about those stories is that, so if I take 2008 for example, when I did my first big show in the Rye for 30,000 people, um, your intro is your own record. And
Hmm.
that song was shaped years before to come to that point. So even I got goosebumps when I hear like, because in my intro it was very mysterious and building up the tension. You hear "Toot, toot, toot, toot," and the whole crowd just goes crazy. That's when you feel like, okay, everything is coming together and people really come to see you because you sold 30,000 tickets, but
Yeah,
also that they react to that sound that was part of your vision, you know.
yeah.
uh,
Sick.
and,
Are
and
you
yeah,
still playing like all round? You would say like if you would come to a DJ Chucky set these days, is it still hip hop to R&B to drum and bass to everything or?
it depends on where you're going. It depends on where you're
Okay.
going. Because the thing is, I always felt like, my musical evolution was towards electronic music.
Hmm.
So obviously that's how we kind of got my international breakthrough and also rode the whole EDM wave. um, but there's numerous times in America, for example, that I play like VIP clubs, and it's more like open format. We play like more hip hop and
Yeah.
whatever's hot, you know. But I there's also like a lot of sets where I just play pure house or pure tech house. Or now, I don't, when I say tech house, it already sounds dirty. Let's say house and techno.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm asking because I know that I talk to many like let's say starting aspiring artists, and a few of them they love to play all round, so open format. But it seems to be really hard these days to build an artist brand around an all-round DJ because you kind of have to pick a niche. At least it seems to be like that. So, what's your thoughts on that?
Story of my life, bro. Even back then, it was the hardest because I came from, let's say, more like a urban hip hop background, but I was growing towards the electronic music, and I had to find a way uh, to gap that,
Yeah,
bridge the gap. It was kind of hard to do, but I kind of think I managed with records like Toys or Nuts, because it was always my idea was, okay, I need to be able to play this record even on a hip hop party or a hip hop urban party.
yeah, yeah,
And even in hip hop parties we would play like house records. So, and if that record would fit in, and then I'm like, okay, it's cool, I'm cool with it, I can release this. But it was kind of hard always to build a brand around it. And obviously, because I was known for DJing and not necessarily for records, so I had to create a sound that would kind of represent whatever I was doing, and I had to create it within electronic music, which was even harder.
yeah.
uh, and kind of in a certain way, I chose a niche. So when I did Let the Bass Kick, I'm like, okay, we're going for this Dutch sound. We knew it back then as Pancake House, you know.
True. Yeah,
Yeah,
Pancake House. Yeah, that's
that
true.
was, but it was a hard decision for me to make, even when they asked me to do this record for a Sensation compilation,
Hmm.
you know. But
Do you
it was an important choice, and I finally made the choice. But I indeed also chose a niche.
do
um
you feel that now for the bigger DJs that are like let's say the main stage now? Do you feel like being a good DJ is a bit um underrated, or like that the bigger DJs are now there's not so much focus anymore on their actual DJ sets? It's too much about the music, or how do you feel about that?
Definitely. Because first of all, technology changed, so it's easier to become like to prepare good sets.
Hmm.
So it's harder to stand out.
Yeah.
But also we live in a time where it's not about, oh, he's playing so good. No, it's about, okay, which record did he release, and the amount of streams, because people buy tickets based on that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So the whole DJ element is kind of
Yeah, you
almost
do
not
see
important.
some guys. I mean,
James Hype.
obviously James Hype makes a lot of fuss about it, and but I can also see guys like Nico Moreno in the hard techno scene.
Yeah,
It kind of his thing, and I really like that about him. And he does it appropriately also,
yeah,
and so you see it, and you see also the recognition for people. Okay, they actually can do something, and especially that meme girl who was crying on what do DJs actually do,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
kind of shows that people are thinking about what do they actually do, and
Yeah, but even
we'll
that
see.
is even that is a certain skill and craft, because to be honest, I know I'm technically skilled, right? For,
Hmm.
if you will. But I'm not. I'm skilled, but I don't know how to translate it enough into viral content or into content the way James Hype does it. Like he's
Mm.
skilled and he knows he
Mm.
found his way to make it work for video and for people to understand worldwide. It doesn't make me less of a DJ. I just don't know how to do it like the way he does it on his videos and with his team and stuff. So even that is a certain skill you must learn
Yeah.
or work on, and
Yeah.
it's a craft. And I think that both the guys are doing it well. The hardstyle guy, what's his name? Nicky Romero.
Nico Moreno.
Nicky Moreno. Yeah.
Nico
Nicky
Romero.
Nico
all these
Moreno. Yeah.
all these Nickies.
Nicky Romero
Yeah.
switched to hard techno.
No, but even that is kind of hard, because to be honest,
Yeah.
there are also guys. Don't forget, there are guys that know really well how to present themselves on video, and you're like, oh, these guys are crazy skilled. And
Yeah.
then you go check out the live set, and you're like, okay,
Not really.
It's
yeah,
their only
yeah,
skill.
Yeah.
yeah,
I
yeah,
think
How
it's
yeah.
sometimes a shame when you feel like you what I sometimes have, that I feel like I played a really good set, but it is like you said, it's an art to capture that vibe, because that's
Yeah.
sometimes you just have a night and it's only at that moment, and you can't really, the videos don't translate that.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's so difficult in today's market.
How
Yeah,
was that transition for you, Clyde? Because you've kind of lived through the whole periods, right? So good
yeah.
2006 era, no social media, blah blah blah, and now everything kind of depends on social media, and your content also has to be on point. How do you experience that? Like,
Bro, I'm struggling. It's hard, bro. First of all, I feel like I don't want to say I'm old, but I feel like I'm too old to be doing TikToks. Even though I understand it's very important. I completely understand it.
mm,
I just feel like, okay, if I have to maintain my TikTok, my YouTube, my Instagram, my Facebook, my X, Twitter, whatever it's called, all this, so when am I going to make music? You know
mm,
what I'm saying? Then
yeah,
it feels like, hey, I'm back on tour again 24/7, and I don't have time to actually produce music and being creative. So for me, to be honest, I'm struggling with it. And a lot of times, like Jay said, like you have this night and it was an amazing night, but you just don't have the right footage for it to that translates. You don't even,
yeah,
I don't post it because I'm like, nah, it,
Yeah.
it, it doesn't capture that moment. So I don't post it. Like even up to now, last time I posted was for my birthday. And I wish I had the patience and you know because I do understand how important it is, but I simply don't have the patience, or I don't feel like, oh, have to do this. Although I know I must do it because that's the difference between having 100,000 or 200,000 followers or 2 million followers. I
yeah,
totally
true,
get that,
yeah,
but it's hard, and at a certain point is that we all are responsible for keeping up a certain standard. And now, because it, when we started to have Instagram, the basic standard of a DJ after set, you post the picture with the crowd.
yeah, with the
You're like,
fireworks,
hey, I love you, Mexico, with the fireworks and everything. Standard
the
Flag.
picture you
flag.
post, yeah, the flag, and and the worst thing is where you go live is like, okay, guys, we're gonna take one family picture. The whole standard EDM package, like the starter pack for the EDM DJ, and
Bingo,
then
EDM bingo.
yeah, and then EDM bingo, and then the picture with the private jet, and then the picture of I'm so tired and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
It's like a whole checklist. To
yeah,
me, it's if that's the norm, it's hard, and then all of a sudden that's this new standard. And then even in the pandemic, there was like a new standard. DJs had to become like comedians
yeah.
to get heard. All of a sudden we were doing skits and trying to be funny. I'm
Yeah.
like, the least funny people are DJs. For real,
No,
we're just a
definitely.
bunch of or producers. We're just a bunch of nerds in the studio, man. Come on.
We have
Yeah.
very dry humor usually, and it doesn't translate into good
Well,
E-
TikToks.
exactly that. So for me, it's to be honest, it's kind of hard, and I'd rather focus on making music. And when saying this, I realize it sounds old, but like I said, I do understand the importance, because you simply cannot
Yeah.
fight technology, and you cannot fight consumer behavior.
I do think you said about focus. I think that's, if you're listening and you're beginning, I think that focus is very important. You need to focus on, let's say, one thing you're really good at, and the rest. It's better to have like a really good amount of tracks
Yeah,
to release, great songs, and then build on your social media, instead of trying to do everything at once, which
Yeah.
I think, yeah, you say it's hard, and I think maybe we're all old in this group, but
This,
it is like for a
I'm still
human, I
Gen
think
Z,
it's not
man.
possible to do all those things and like have something of a life and have sleep, you know.
Well,
yeah,
that's the thing with me. My problem where I was always lacking is because I'm an Einzelganger. I just want to travel alone. I
mm,
cannot. I can't. I tried because I had a tour manager for a couple of years, and when his contract ended, I just, I'm like, okay, thank you. I just simply can't travel with people. When I wake up in a hotel, I don't want to entertain nobody. Don't call me for because if you're with somebody, obviously you're gonna, hey, what time we going for lunch and what time is breakfast, bro.
I'm the exact opposite. When I have a tour manager, I'm like, "You come to my room now, or I come to your room, and you have to check this music." And he's like, "Dude, I'm tired." No, you have to listen to this. Should I
Yeah.
play this tonight?
yeah,
I can't. I'm too much of a loner. So, obviously it's important now you travel with a team like photographer, videographer, you travel with a tour manager. I simply couldn't, at first I felt like, yeah, but I have a USB. There's nothing to manage on tour, I just have a USB. I
that's
just
it.
plug it in.
Yeah,
All I have to do is make sure I show up on time, and that's it.
yeah,
Yeah,
So
Marlon
for
actually still travels sometimes alone. No
yeah,
yeah.
videographer whatsoever, and he loves it. He's exactly the same. He doesn't want to be cool. It's just he will make sure he's there and he will do
Yeah.
his thing. He loves it.
leave me alone.
And for
Yeah,
the rest, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So yes, am I struggling with it? It's uh, I'm struggling with it in a sense of, yeah, I just don't feel like I want to do it because I
mm,
feel like you could still blow up or make a big hit and a big impact without all the TikToks and all that
mm,
stuff.
I
I
mean,
yeah,
feel it's
there's
still possible. The
you
the
can
chance is just smaller.
you can get famous now with like making a blowjob joke
Yeah.
on an interview, and then you're like world famous, like literally world
yeah.
famous.
In
It's
a
fucking,
week. Yeah.
it's crazy.
She got paid
How?
30,000 for a cameo.
Oh
Wow.
wow! Holy shit!
Yeah, she's like she has now social media, and it's like the amount of how do you say, like views it has.
Yeah,
It's crazy,
Yeah.
it's
crazy.
crazy. One
One.
interesting thing I must say in this whole thing, because been following it for years, and even if I look at Tomorrowland, for example, what I've noticed throughout the years, and I'm sure you guys had it as well. Back in the days, all the records were like longer, right? Like 6, 7 minutes,
totally.
and you always before the breakdown, let's say the middle part, the break, you would always break it down, like build it down. And
Mm,
now I think also because of the festivals and stuff, you just cut out that whole part. You went from the drop straight to the break.
mm-hmm.
No building down anymore. Just straight to
But
the
that's
break.
actually that's coming back.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
we're now in preparation of the Tomorrowland set. And what you usually did, you had this intro, which took, and always went like from full 100 to zero,
yeah,
Yeah.
then build up again, full 100, zero. And now it's way more transitioning the outro into the intro. And then from the drop one, then you
yeah.
maybe have a breakdown, have some vocals over it or play it live, whatever, and then go back to the second drop. And that's actually coming back. So what
Yeah.
I also see is that DJing gets a lot more recognition as it did like 5 years ago.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
think also a lot of DJs got lazy because people just weren't paying attention. They didn't
Yeah.
even care, but
I
now
think
they care, and it's a good thing.
I think Laidback Luke always has said this. It's not about the hits because anybody can play hits, but it's about what you play in between the hits.
Yeah.
And I do feel now that I've noticed it as well after COVID, the gigs I did, I can play way more stuff that's like unknown that I
Mm-hmm.
just like really like and throw it in between. And people are like actually loving it more than
Yeah.
before. And
They
before they would be
appreciate it.
kind of like, hey, I don't know this. And now they're kind of like, I don't care. I like it too. And just I do see that also
Maybe
happening way
they're
more.
kind of. I think we've talked about it in the podcast before that in the past few years it kind of seemed like we lived in the age of average, as in everything was average, right? Every song was average, every album cover was average, and it seems like people are looking for more unique kind of
Authenticity.
authenticity,
Definitely.
like
Yeah.
guys like Chucky, like someone who kind of does something completely different, like Fred again, for example, like all
Yeah.
those types of artists that do the contrary
Are we
thing.
talking about Fred again? Come
Yeah,
on.
again and again.
Again. No, but he's
but
outstanding, man.
yeah,
Yeah.
he's outstanding. By the way, we have a community and a lot of people sending questions. So I'm gonna pick out a question now for you, Clyde. What was the biggest challenge you faced during your DJ music career?
I always felt that I was going against the stream, because I always had a vision of something that wasn't there yet. So
Mm,
first I had to create it, and then I had to sell it to people. So I
Mm.
would have a sound. It could be a song or a way of mixing, and people wouldn't understand it at first because it's just completely new. And it was always the problem. It was always a problem of doing such a thing, being trying to be progressive. And I always had, even when I said, hey, I want to go from open format to more electronic music, people were like, how are you going to do that?
mm,
Even I was still figuring it out, but I had it in mind that it was possible. And doing it was kind of hard because you still had to, how do you say, gain trust from people.
yeah.
And I always had it, even when I did the David Guetta remix with the Little John on it. I'm like, okay, but there's no house remix with a screaming hip hop MC on it. It's I always had that thing, like, okay, it's still a little bit awkward or still a little bit weird because it's simply not done yet.
Yeah.
And I've had that many times, even when I'm like, hey, if you create a different sound, you create an alias for that. And I was
Hmm.
like, nah, man, I want people to know I produced this hip hop record. I did Ballet to Follow, for example, this Dutch hip hop record, big
Oh
record in
yeah.
2003. I did Party Crash in 2001, which is a bubbling record. I did Let the Bass Kick. I did Toys and Nuts. But I also did, like, I recently released 3 tracks on Loco Dice's label, but
Oh really?
Oh,
all under my own name, because I just want people to know, like, oh, it's that same motherfucker that
The
did that
same
shit.
guy.
Same
So
guy, like,
him
how
again?
how did
yeah.
it feel? Yeah, not Fred again, but him again. But how did that feel to constantly be the guy going into the streams? Like going into doing
Correct.
something that everyone else
Yeah,
doesn't.
how do you stick to the plan when all
Yeah.
the labels are saying like, "Hey, do this."
Because that's I always learned that you grow outside of your comfort zone, first of all. And also, it was always a way for me to keep myself challenged. um you
Mm.
know yeah, to keep myself challenged. So I always needed that against the odds kind of vibe,
It's a
and that.
pretty unique skill.
Yeah, but it's also like no need to do such a thing, because I could also go the easy route, and I always chose not to. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So I felt like numerous times that I was, how do you say it, swimming against the stream of going
Yeah.
uphill or
Hmm.
whatever.
Hmm.
But I always, yeah, that was the biggest struggle. But then again, it was also the thing that kind of kept me motivated, and kept me going. And especially the reward afterwards it was
Yeah.
always like, yeah, man, I'm happy I did this.
Yeah, but
Yeah, it's
because like
cool.
during the process, as Jay said, like labels will constantly tell you, no, this is not it, or this doesn't fit us. Maybe even bookers will tell you, like, we want you for like the all round sets and not like just the house. Like you will constantly get pushback. How do you
Yeah.
deal with that?
Well, I always learned, like, or basically the way I lived is like, if there's no lane for it, I'll create my own lane.
Mm,
Because even before, I only created Dirty Dutch because events like, for example, sneakers wouldn't book me.
really?
It's
Because you
be,
weren't house.
I wasn't house enough, even though I
Yeah,
know I could just deliver a house set. It's not that hard. It's 20 tracks or
Mm.
30 tracks in a set. It's not that hard to pick 20 tracks. Just they didn't want me to. I simply didn't get booked, so I would create my own lane for it.
yeah.
You know what
Um,
was also funny back in the day? You had one management then. I don't. Were you one management? No, huh?
no, I was with Ace.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
Ace, of course.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Already,
yeah,
And
yeah.
back in the day, one management was like in Holland they were called the international
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
bunch,
yeah.
and especially and then you had you, Hardwell, Afrojack, of
Yeah.
course,
City.
Samson. Although Sydney Sampson was at one management, but they weren't. There wasn't the internet. The bleeps weren't the international sound, and then Chuckie came across, other
Yeah.
guys as well, and that sound was going worldwide, and that was
Yeah.
so ironic and funny to me, especially.
Yeah.
And but I can get it. That yeah,
But
one
even
bigger stuff.
now,
Yeah,
the whole DJ Boozy Woozy sound and lock and load is hot again, and it's hot in
yeah,
the techno scene.
Yeah.
it's
And
Exactly.
that
insane.
was even more pancake house.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The level of pancake was bigger in that style, and it's
People love pancakes. That's the
yeah,
conclusion.
But is it maybe typical Dutch that we always are a bit like, that's not something, and then you blow up outside of Holland, and then everybody in Holland's like, whoa, that's the
Uh,
next big thing, and it's like, yeah,
yeah.
you should have saw that 2 years ago.
We
I
True.
feel
never
like,
trusted enough in our own sound, I guess, and I had the
yeah,
same
it's
problem.
weird.
Modesty, and yeah.
Maybe,
Yeah,
yeah.
but then again, it's there's always a time and a place for it because I feel like right now it's full circle. I saw a video of Tiesto playing at Future Festival, the one in Italy,
Yeah.
and it's which is like a house techno festival, and he was playing like his trance hits. But funny enough, those trance hits it became full circle, and they
Yeah.
fit so well on that stage right now.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
they went
saying?
very commercial though with the lineup. I also saw
Yeah,
Lost Frequencies,
yeah,
but I
yeah,
guess
yeah,
I guess not commercial, like you say, because Tiesto can
yeah.
play his old stuff, and it's perfect.
It's
Yeah.
perfect. And I feel like I had the same thing because last year I played at this festival called Draaimolen Festival,
Oh, it's
which,
in Tilburg here.
yeah, which
In
is
my
like
hometown.
most
Did you play
respected.
there?
Yeah, I played there last year. And you know what I
Wow.
played? I played a bubbling set on the main stage.
That this is like the like to me even I know the guy who organized it because
Yeah,
he's like the brother of an old friend of mine.
yeah,
And
And the
that
sister of the
festival,
aunt of your,
no, but it doesn't go much deeper than that. Like it's so niche, it's so deep into the scene.
yeah.
Like
And I played the main stage, and I was like, I read
main
it
stage.
online, main stage, and it was like the top 30 festival sets of last year. I'm like, yeah, okay, cool.
Insane.
Wow, I should check
Uh,
it. Like, can I still find it?
yeah, yeah.
Probably,
You you
yeah.
you Google Chuckie and Schuurman on the Rijmolen,
Hmm.
and it's there, man. But yeah,
Uh,
so it's cool to see
oh,
the
dude.
whole full circle
Yeah,
thing.
but also guys like Marlon Hofstad, see what he
Yeah,
does. It's
Yeah,
it's like old trance, a little bit of happy
yeah,
hardcore in there, and
yeah.
it's so fun. And I think the world is really open to a lot now, which
In
is
a sense, if
amazing.
you come back to the first question, like how is it, like you don't have to stick to one necessarily style anymore. You could just throw it all in. I think we're living in that era now,
yeah,
which is fine with me, and also super exciting because it's something I was always kind of working for. That we should be more open towards different sounds in one set,
yeah.
and I'm happy it's there.
One more thing, and then we'll close things off. But one more thing I kind of have to mention because it was the thing last week in the industry, and everyone on Discord also said like, I
Yeah.
need to know these guys' opinion on it. Hardwell versus Saga Festival. Like, what happened there?
What happened is that he completely lost his mind. Would I have done the same? Absolutely not. I would have just stand there like backstage. I wouldn't have lost my mind. I would if they would have fixed it, then
Mm,
I would continue my set. If they wouldn't fix it, I would them make them look like a fool. And
yeah,
because basically we don't forget that we live in an era where everything becomes a meme.
yeah,
So
be,
even being on that stage, say the wrong thing and you become a meme for life. And
yeah,
it's kind of scary, but I would have handled it different because I feel like still you were invited by them. You're on their stage, $1 million production stage, whatever it costs. You have their mic. You're literally in their house, disrespecting them.
hmm,
Yeah.
Because that's what basically happens.
I mostly thought that the crowd, whatever happened between Hardwell and the festival, the crowd doesn't have a message to that. They want to have a good time,
Exactly, and
and
they
that's
don't know
kind
about the
of,
technicalities. He could have said, like, "Look, guys, bear with me. We're trying to figure it out, and just
yeah.
turn off
that's
the
it.
mic."
And also, why didn't they just cut his mic off?
No, the
Why did
guys were like, "Yo, yo, yo, yo,
Like
wait,
running.
wait, wait. Let this drama unfold. Let's."
maybe it put them
They got a
worldwide, like on
lot of
it
attention.
wasn't a lot of news
Yeah,
Yeah,
outlets as
and
well.
then poor Manny, if you know Manny, his tour manager. I know Manny
Yeah.
since the Eric Morillo days. He was his tour manager first,
Oh, really?
and Manny was the one trying to get him off stage, and like, yeah, like, oh, bro,
Oh,
but
there was many.
It was
I
many. It
didn't
It
was
was
many.
notice as well.
I thought
I
it was
could
someone
t-
from the festival.
No, it was many. I recognized immediately.
Ah,
That was many. I'm like, oh
Ah,
no, bro, poor Manny. Because
damn.
but to be honest, but maybe because I'm a bit older, I would have just handled it different.
mm,
But then again, we can say all we want to say. We were not there at that very moment.
yeah. There's
Sometimes
a
you kind of get it. If everything just works against you, people will look at the DJ and say he or she fucked up their job,
yep.
Yeah,
and that's kind of frustrating. And then, yeah, nowadays I can get it. The frustration sometimes just comes out, and you lose
Yeah.
control.
yeah,
But
yeah. True.
also, yeah, you always have to keep in mind you can become a meme, and that's yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's
James
in
Hype already
hindsight,
used it.
you don't know on
There
the
you go.
spot.
No,
You
I
just
think if he just would have said like, "Hey guys, it's not working, and I want to perform, but it's not gonna happen," but
Yeah,
that's what, like you said, Ralph. Then you can lose your temper, and you are already like
because
like nervous before this festival, and you're like the adrenaline is high, and then it's so
it was
yeah.
probably happened starting when he started his set already. So
Mm.
there was like it kind of built up. I must say the only time I would react like he reacted is if I had vodka in my system. If I recognize vodka behavior when I see it, and that was
we
vodka
all do.
behavior.
Yeah.
Oh, wow,
Yeah.
good
Yeah.
man.
But
You
yeah,
know, you,
Robert also takes his job serious, and there
True.
must have been something before Anthony just lost it. Can
yeah,
happen, but in hindsight, yeah, you can only conclude that yeah, you shouldn't do it, and he
yeah.
knows it
Yeah.
also. But I can totally relate, and yeah,
Eventually,
it's
it's
sometimes
publicity for the
frustrating.
festival and for Hardwell because
Yeah, we
yeah.
all know. Plus, we all know how much Hartwell, how passionate he is about his music and his job. So
Crazy. Yeah.
it's
Oh,
so
there's
it
no
happens.
Yeah.
yeah.
It happens to the best of us.
You
There's
guys
no
also
other
kind of
DJ who apps me so many times to just tweak my track or send it without certain vocals, or he's really busy with like every 15 seconds of his set.
Mhm.
Nice.
So yeah, I can get it. Hey, we all
Yeah,
can
yeah, yeah.
sometimes blow up. Hopefully, there's no camera on.
But I still gonna say I recognize vodka behavior when I see it.
You kind of also started with Hardwell, right? In the
Yeah,
blowing
yeah,
beats
yeah.
era.
Yeah, yeah. Don't people tend to forget that Hardwell is also like a old school guy. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And he was
Yeah.
there from the bubbling beats time.
Yeah, did you play together in the Hollywood musical?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And his thing was, and here's the thing, because he did it smart. He was like, "Yo, fuck it, I'm just gonna remix these big records and just add a bubbling loop on top of it." And I was literally trying to create new thing, like new music, like create the whole thing as a sound. It's stupid. And afterwards, I'm like, I should have done what he did. Yeah,
Oh yeah,
man.
you did all right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you did all
yeah, yeah,
right. Yeah.
definitely.
Clyde, I want to thank you, man. It was really fun seeing you again and
Yeah,
hearing your stories from the
yeah.
past, but also about all your thoughts on how
Yeah,
you
we all
dealt with
know
those
it
things.
wasn't enough time, but yeah, man.
Yeah, there's can always be a second time,
There
Clyde.
Always,
can
man.
always
But
be a
yeah, it
second.
was great, Joey. Like I said, it was funny when you asked me for this podcast. Is it? Wait, do we still call it podcast? No, huh?
I think we
Yeah.
do.
I
We
think
Whatever.
we do. Yeah.
When you called me for this, it was that week. I had some of your old tracks selected
Yeah.
for my set, so it's cool to see, man. I'm really
Ah,
happy.
it's
Isn't it
Bombasi.
like yeah, exactly. Like I'm just wondering like if you play those tracks now, like I can imagine that the tracks of these days sound much better than they did back then.
No, you'd be surprised, man.
Yeah.
You'd be
Yeah?
surprised, yeah, because
Mm.
we got off the hard kicks now. Everything is more
Yeah.
toned down, so it kind of fits in well.
Okay, that's good
Yeah,
to hear. I might do a comeback then.
you should, man. You should. You
Yeah.
should. Yeah, you should never stop. Actually, why,
Yeah. I actually I'm not sure if you knew, but I did quit like 10 years ago, something like that.
bro? I didn't
Uh,
even. I didn't know that.
no, no worries. But maybe it seems to be a good moment in time to pick up things, and maybe I'll do, but
And
not
and
on my own. Not on my own.
and then create something you feel like without
Yeah.
all the rules, because there are
But
no
I
rules.
really enjoyed that era, like the music you just mentioned, that Samba remix that I did, the remix I did for Dimitri Vegas, like Mike, like
Yeah.
that was the music I preferred making, and somehow I kind of went into the EDM era. Um, but that was a mistake afterwards. Like I should have sticked with my passion, which was the tech house kind of music.
Yeah, but we all try some things, and good thing is that we live in an era where I feel like, and I've been talking about it a lot with friends, like, dude, just drop it. If people don't like it, they forget it.
It's
Yeah.
yeah,
So
it's
it's
also a bit
it's
That's
random
so
because
true.
I think a
just
lot of
drop it.
producers that had a track that was supported a lot that were like about the track. I'm not sure, I kind of like it, but and then you just release it, and those are usually the tracks that then blow up, and it's like that wasn't my favorite out of
Yeah.
the bunch, but
Still, yeah.
yeah, it's so
But
random
that's how it
sometimes.
goes. So
Actually,
yeah, go ahead.
one question that just come in, like a very specific one, in the chat. Can you ask Chucky where the Latin guitar sample from Party Crasher is from?
Yes, it's from this record from what's it called? Angie Martinez. Um, and what's the record? It's from Angie Martinez. And the funny part about it is, I just wanted a salsa or merengue kind of part in that record. And for the lack of better, I'm like, fuck it, I'll just use this. And
Dude,
just
that
left it
that
there.
track, seriously, you can still play that now, and people will go crazy.
Is
Crack, crack, crack.
yeah.
It's like, oh,
Yeah, it's
so
still
nice.
that's crazy when you create something that still gets played 20 years or
Ah,
22 years
Yeah,
after. It's amazing. And
so sick.
even then I wasn't thinking about it. I was just doing
Yeah,
what felt right. So yeah, it's cool,
I
man.
can imagine. But as Ralph said, like understand the impact you had. Like you had such a big impact to a whole generation, and yeah.
I get reminded, especially this year and last year, I get reminded a lot because of also the revival of a lot of sounds.
Hmm.
So I got it with the bubbling things. People are like international hitting me like, yo, I had no clue you were doing this. I thought you were the guy from EDM. I had no clue this and that. And I'm like, yeah, so it's really cool to get those reminders. And I'm happy to see that I was, because that was a big thing for me. When I went from hip hop to house music, I always felt like if I'm gonna make this transition, I want to add something to the table. If I'm not gonna add something to the table, why bother
mm.
crossing over?
Hmm.
So I'm glad eventually that I was able to, have a little impact in a certain way.
Huge
And
impact, man.
yeah, and
Huge
that's and I
impact.
think that's the goal for everybody. Whatever you're doing, you want to have a certain impact.
Yeah,
You
good
know.
good way to end. Perfect
Thank you.
advice.
Yeah.
Thanks, Clyde, for doing this. Thanks for everyone who is
Yeah.
watching. Make sure to join the Artist Coaching Discord if you want to be part of the conversation next time. You can leave your questions there. Ralph, Jopke, thanks as well for joining as always. And we'll take things up next week again. We'll be back. Bye
Ciao,
bye.
Hey.
ciao.